There's one sales management mistake that I see destroys 6 and 7 figure businesses over and over again. And the crazy part is that most business owners think that they are doing the right thing. Now, today in this video, I'm going to show you the management approach that's secretly costing you thousands of dollars every single month and why the businesses that scale successfully do the complete opposite. Now, let's actually talk about the actual mistake that business owners are making. And that is that they try to manage their sales team like employees instead of treating them like revenue generating partners, which they actually are. And let me explain what this looks like in practice. Most business owners hire salespeople and then immediately start micromanaging them. They want daily reports. They want to listen to every single call. They want to approve every single follow-up message that gets sent. And they treat their closers like customer service reps instead of revenue generators, which they are. Now, here's what happens when you do this. Your best performers, they will leave. Think about it. If somebody can consistently close high-ticket deals and make serious money, do you think that they want to be micromanaged like a teenager with their first job? The answer is probably no. And the people who stick around are the ones that actually need constant hand-holding, which means they're probably not great at sales to begin with. Now, I've seen business owners spend more time managing their sales teams than actually growing their business. They're basically stuck in meetings all day reviewing call recordings and discussing why conversion rates dropped 2% last week, instead of focusing on things such as lead generation, product development, or most importantly, strategic planning. And the result? Well, the business basically gets to a point where it's going to stagnate because the CEO becomes a glorified sales manager and the sales teams underperform because they're being treated like order takers instead of working professionals. Now, let's hop into the iPad here and discuss why traditional sales systems basically fail. And the reason is basically that, this mistake is so common. Let me start by saying that this mistake is so common in most businesses, and most business owners learned sales manager from outdated corporate models that do not work for high-ticket businesses, right? They found this guru online that is teaching mostly corporate people or corporate salespeople, and it just doesn't translate, right? Because in corporate sales, you have dozens of reps making hundreds of calls selling low-ticket products. And in that environment, micromanaging made sense because you need consistency and process compliance. But in high-ticket sales, you have 1 to 4 elite performers handling fewer calls at much higher value. And these people need autonomy, trust, and the freedom to build relationships with prospects. Now, let's actually talk about, the trust paradox here. And here's what's crazy. Business owners will trust their accountant with their entire financial picture, and they'll trust their lawyer with legal decisions, but they won't trust their closers to have conversations with a prospect without supervision, right? Your closer is literally the person responsible for turning your marketing investment into revenue, but you're treating them like they cannot be trusted to do their job, right? That is a big problem that needs to be resolved. And let's talk about the performance impact of that, right? Because when you manage salespeople, or micromanage salespeople, I should say, several things turn to happen. And I'm just talking out of experience here because I create these videos so that I can pass on lessons that I have learned in my life, and hopefully you don't have to make them either. Now, first of all, the first thing that happens when you micromanage salespeople is that they start performing for you instead of the prospect, right? They're basically going to be thinking about, what you want them to hear on the call when you watch their call recording, instead of what the prospect needs to hear in order to make buying decisions. And generally that's aligned, right? But you'll find that, if closers know that you're watching every single call, right, they're going to be concentrating on perfection, and perfection does not win deals, right? Basically, authenticity makes you win deals, right? Being authentic. And when you're constantly thinking, oh, what's my sales manager thinking of me? What am I saying next? What I'm thinking about this? That they get in their head, which is really, really true, right? So get off their back and let them do their thing. Now, the second thing that happens is that they will actually lose confidence, right? Which is the worst thing that can happen to a closer, right? Because again, constant oversight signals that you don't believe in their abilities, or you're basically signaling to them that you don't believe in their abilities, that will affect how they show up on calls, okay? And third, they start bringing you every single objection and every decision instead of handling things by themselves, okay? You've basically trained them to be dependent on you, okay? And let's dig into the opportunity cost here, because while you're spending, 10 hours a week reviewing call recordings and having sales meetings, your competitors, they are spending that time improving their offers, generating more leads, or building strategic partnerships, okay? You're basically working in your business instead of working on your business, and that is costing you scalability and growth, okay? Now, let's talk about the right way to manage sales or closers, essentially, right? And you're probably asking yourself, well, what does effective sales management then actually look like for high ticket businesses? Well, the first thing is that you want to set clear expectations, then get out of their way, right? Elite performers, they want to know what success looks like within your organization, and then they want the freedom to achieve and go out there and hunt for that goal, right? Give them clear targets, right? Give them the conversions rate, all the KPIs they're going to be measured on, give it to them. Conversion rates, revenue goals, active basically metrics, right? And then let them figure it out how to hit those numbers, right? Because again, if they're hitting their targets, right, you don't need to know exactly how they're doing it. And if they're not hitting their targets, then you need to investigate a little bit more and provide active support, okay? Because here's the thing, you want to be focusing, right, on results, not activities, right? Hey guys, real quick, if you're looking for any one of these three things, which is appointment setters, closers, or sales managers, that's exactly what we do here at Sales Match. We'll go out, recruit them, vet them, and put them through our stringent vetting process to find the very best closers, setters, or sales manager that fits into your specific business. So if you're looking for any one of those three things, and in addition, we'll show you how to systemize your sales process, click the links below, schedule a free consultation call. But enough of that mumbo jumbo, let's get right back to the video. Instead of tracking how many calls they made or how long each call lasted, track what actually matters. Conversions, revenue generated or cash collected, and client satisfaction, right? I've seen business owners obsess over call duration while ignoring the fact that their closer is converting, 40% above industry standards. Who cares about how long calls are if they're actually closing deals, right? And again, if one closer sales cycle is, let's just say 4 to 5 weeks, another closer is 2 weeks, that is okay, right? And if that closer that is closing at a 3 to 4 week sales cycle, they have a KPI, or a close rate that is much more superior than the sales team that they're working with, right? Why would you care? Just hire more closers, right? And the other part to this is that you need to provide resources, not restrictions, because your job as a sales manager, right, is to remove obstacles and provide resources. If your closer needs better leads, get them better leads. If they need training on specific objection handling, provide them that training. And if they need administrative support, hire an assistant. But don't hover over them and second guess every decision they make, okay? You want regular check-ins, not constant monitoring, okay? And the way this can look like is that you can have weekly or bi-weekly one-on-ones to discuss things such as performance, address challenges that they may have, figure out what's going on in their personal life, and plan improvements, right, if there are any problems. But these should be collaborative conversations, not interrogations, okay? And the way you can do this is asking questions like, what obstacles are you facing these days, right? Or what resources do you need so that you can get better at your job and succeed better, right? Or succeed better. Instead of saying things such as, why did you say this on a sales call, okay? It needs to be collaborative instead of interrogating them, right? Now, let's talk about the compensation alignment, because this is also extremely important, right? You have to make sure that their compensation is aligned with your business goals. Now, if you want them to focus on conversion rates, make sure their commission structure rewards quality over quantity. If you want them to focus on larger deals, make sure the commission tiers incentivizes that behavior. right? Now, let's move on and talk about, the cost of getting all of this wrong, because that's important too, right? And let me show you what happens to businesses that keep making these management mistakes, right? Well, the first thing we got to talk about is high turnover and constant recruiting, because when you micromanage, your good people leave and your mediocre people will stay on, okay? This means that you're constantly hiring and training new salespeople, which is expensive and disruptive. And, I'll give you a story. This is exactly the rut that I got in, before I started Sales Match, is that, I was consistently obsessed with building the very best team possible. And I went so deep down the rabbit hole to figure out, how do you find the best, not only salespeople, but the best team in general, right? And it comes down to vetting them thoroughly, right? And I have plenty of videos on here that describes our vetting process when we go out and find closers and setters for the businesses that we work with, right? There's an extensive checklist that we do go through. And the reason for that is because of opportunity cost of getting this wrong, right? But the point is that I'm trying to make is this is exactly why we started Sales Match, because I particularly found myself busy with constant recruiting all the freaking time, right? And that is also, one of the value adds that we add to businesses is that they do not have to spend time recruiting, vetting, training, and all of that good stuff that goes into getting or ramping reps up to KPI, right? Now, here's the thing. Every time a closer leaves your organization, you lose not just their future production, right? But also the investment you made in them by training them and building them into your pipeline and training them on your softwares, your systems, and so on and so forth, okay? Because here's the thing. Decreased performance is going to be a thing that we need to discuss from the remaining team, because the people who stick around under the micromanagement, right, are usually the ones who actually need it, right? Which means they're not your top performers, because your conversion rates will drop eventually, your revenue per closer will decrease, and your overall sales performance will suffer, okay? Now, the next thing we got to talk about here, which is honestly one of the biggest, risks, and I've seen Alex Hormozi talk about this too, is CEO burnout and business stagnation, right? Because when you're spending all of your time management salespeople, you're not doing CEO work, right? You might be asking, what's CEO work, right? Well, you might not be spending time improving your offer, building strategic partnerships, and you're not developing new revenue streams or new streams of leads, right? And here's the other thing. If you're doing something that you don't like to do, like sales management, if you do not like to do that, right, you are going to burn out eventually. And once you burn out, your business is pretty much done, right? And again, if you need somebody like someone like a sales manager to be placed within your business, we do that as well. Links down below for that. But here's the thing. Your business will stop growing, right, when you're trapped in sales management instead of focusing on things such as business development. Okay, very, very important. And the fourth thing that I want to touch on here is your reputation damage, okay? Because here's the thing, and you know this better than I do. Word spread quickly in the sales community, okay? If you get a reputation as somebody who micromanages, it becomes harder to attract top performers, okay? Because the best performers won't even consider working with you because their working environment is very, very important to them, right? That's why some of the best closers in the world are not working in the corporate environments anymore, because they like working from home. They like having autonomy. They like having the freedom that comes with that, right? Because when you do all of this, right, you can create a downward spiral where you can only track and will only track mediocre performers if the reputation spreads that you are basically a manager, right? And again, this is detrimental to your business because you do want to attract top salespeople to your organization, right? Well, the solution to this, and one solution to this, is Sales Match, right? And this is exactly why we approach sales placement differently, right? We don't just place salespeople, we place performers who don't need micromanagement, right? Because our vetting process specifically identifies closers who have a track record of working independently and delivering results without constant oversight. And these are professionals who take ownership of their performance and don't need somebody looking over their shoulder, okay? But here's the thing that really sets us apart. We also provide guidance on how to manage these elite performers effectively, and we help business owners understand the difference between accountability and micromanagement. So if you're looking for any one of these three things, appointment setters, closers, or sales managers, we can go out and find them for you and place them within your business within 7 to 14 days. So if you need something like that, more on the links down below. But other than that, I really do hope that you got value out of this video. And if you have any other thing or any questions or anything you want to add, comment down below. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.